Google time.
He broke his elbow for the Google-ith time.
Google-ith time.
That's 1 followed by 100 zeros.
You motherfucker. Hey, how does that work? Again, how is it so many zeros?
Hey, Mike, want to take care of some business before you yell at Joe for making you feel like an idiot? Oh, by the way, how's your Snapple?
It's tasty.
Good, right?
It's the mango tea.
Yeah.
It takes 2 to mango, it says.
Yeah, it does.
And also, Google fact.
Snapple fact.
I know, I said Snapple fact. A Google is a number.
It is.
Hey, Joe, what's that number?
It is 1 followed by 100
No,
zeros.
say it.
Oh, it's 10 to the 100th power.
Which means?
Which would be 10 times 100. Well, 10.
Oh, see,
10
that's what you thought.
times 10
I
100
thought
times.
it meant, but I knew better, you piece of shit. Ladies and
10
gentlemen,
times 10,
welcome to the
100
podcast.
times.
A call comes naturally. As always, we ask you to help
professional.
us a little bit. First, go to our Facebook page, like and share the Facebook page. Then follow us on the Twitters. Our Twitter handle is.
I am Groot.
And then head on over to iTunes and rate the podcast, review the podcast, and subscribe to the podcast. And now we have to ask Joe more questions so they don't think we changed our Twitter handle to I am Groot.
Joe, what's our Twitter handle?
Comes Natural Pod.
There we
There
go.
we go.
Speaking of that, comes naturally, we are.
Joe?
Mike.
I am Cody. Welcome to this week's episode, everybody. If you didn't know, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume Dos, or 2 as they say here in the States, came out last Friday. Volume 2. We have seen it. Some of us have seen it a couple times.
One of us seen it once.
Pussy.
Joe, so...
We are
Slow?
gonna spoil some stuff.
Oh, we're going to spoil the fuck out of it. Kurt Russell's a big piece of shit.
So,
Spoiler.
That is true. There's a lot of truth to that.
So if you don't want to hear spoilers like the one Mike just said out loud, even though it's drastically out of context,
Ew.
stop listening now. Just fast forward to, I don't know, just guess. And if you guessed wrong, Mike's gonna spoil some more stuff for you.
I'll spoil a lot of it.
Yeah.
I'll spoil all of it.
So first off, we will get everyone's impressions, not impressions, but impressions. No, impressions.
Oh,
There you go.
We'll
start-
this is my impression of Mike.
We're gonna start with Joe because I want to forget Mike's here. That fucking comment.
Impression?
I would like to get Joe's depression of the movie.
Now I'm in a deep state of
I'm so
depression.
sad that it's over. It's my depression of the movie. I absolutely loved this movie from beginning to end.
And a
I
lot
think
in
it's
the middle.
actually... I want to say it's actually better than the first movie. It's been a while, honestly, since I've seen the
Wouldn't
first
that
movie.
make it to you? If it's better than the first movie, wouldn't that put it in the best movie of Marvel so far?
Yes.
Yeah,
Because you guys
Guardians
thought
of the
Guardians was a favorite.
yeah, quite easily.
Yep.
The way the movie begins, just absolutely fucking hilarious with Baby Groot sitting there fighting those little... fucking,
I can't remember what they're called.
yeah,
Something with an N, I think.
but then he plugs in the amp,
Yeah.
and the credits start rolling in.
My favorite part
and
about
he's
that
just
is, like,
fucking
he's, like-
dancing around.
He misses
He
it.
misses
a
it
couple
a couple times. Yeah,
And hits it, and then like.
You kind of hear it start to
Yep,
like
you hear
that little.
Yep.
his eyes just get all big, and he's like, "Oh!" And then he just starts dancing around.
Gets
The
little
battle
shake
going in the background, and what's beautiful about that is because they show you this battle in the trailers, so you are like expecting this big thing to happen, and after a while, like we realized this was going to be the beginning of the movie, but the fact that it happens in the background
Majority of it happens in the background. Yeah.
of this is fantastic, just fantastic. I
And
think.
better in 3D, by the way.
Oh yeah, phenomenal in
This-
3D.
For the some of us who have seen it, multiple ways. I know Jen doesn't like to see 3D, so I know you guys went regular, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was a scene, and because of the 3D, I actually got a little bit of that, like, oh, I feel like I'm about to fall thing.
Ooh, which one was it?
I'm trying to remember.
I remember thinking that too.
They were like panning
I just remember
up.
thinking like I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
There was like one scene they did it.
There was
really,
one
really
particular
well.
scene. It was just so well done.
The one that got me all like ooh good was when the side of the drilling ship got ripped off, and you see into the vastness of into the core of Ego, and it just goes forever, and then the camera switches to Mantis's, and she walks the other way. I was just like, oh, I'm gonna throw up, because it was like hey, we're gonna focus all over here. Hey, real close. I'm like, I'm good. I'm trying to think what part they would have panned at, where you would have.
God, what was it?
Can't remember.
And just so you guys know, we saw it when we saw 3D. We saw it on the full screen IMAX, so full size IMAX 3D,
Legitimate IMAX,
not us crammed into a regular theater IMAX. Which some of them are much better than they used to be. But there's nothing that compares.
How much
to
do
that.
you hate regular theater seats now? I feel like a fucking movie theater.
Oh God,
now,
the IMAX seats.
That was the first time. So
I think that's the first time since
theater
Estrella
seats-
opened that I've been in an auditorium.
No. Actually, yes.
it might have been
for
because
you. Yes, for us, no.
Yeah.
Because
What
we've
did we
been
see?
to
So like the last
Surprise a couple
15 movies I've seen.
Oh yeah, that's an experience that I just want to forget about because that was awful.
Yeah.
It's an AMC now, but it's still like fucking
Yeah, so
awful.
those seats. So the difference between the IMAX theater seats and like say a regular movie theater that doesn't have powered recliners are the seats are very narrow. They have the old wooden armrests. You know, they go to a cup holder, but they're like the old style ones, and they don't really
But it's
recline.
like if you don't, if people are listening to this and they're not fortunate enough to have a theater near them,
Fancy
where
theater.
they get the recliner seats and the nice big armrests, and you have plenty of room. Like I know we sound like assholes for talking about this, but recently
Hashtag first
a
world problems.
really nice theater opened up closer to near me, but we've all gone to it a few times. And it's a pick your own seating in every theater. They all have the reclining chairs. And I got so fucking spoiled by it because this was the first time since I started going there. I went and saw Logan at AMC, but that was the one auditorium
Had similar
there
seats.
that had similar seats. Their seats actually might have been a little bit better than Harkin's one. Those are really nice seats.
I like those ones because if you go with someone you care about, you can actually move the middle arm up.
Yeah,
Is
so
the
that was pretty
Westgate one?
dope.
Yeah.
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 Isn't that the one that also has like the subwoofers under the seats? The
The
drivers?
Dolby one has.
Yeah.
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 So that one's
badass.
super dope too. But then go into these regular theater seats. I was like, I hate touching the person next to me during a movie. It's the worst.
Didn't
What-
we go to Arrowhead at one point for something recently though? Like fairly recently?
AMC 14?
No, Arrowhead Harkins.
I don't remember.
No.
If it was, we were slow. It was like a no.
No, we haven't been to Arrowhead Harkins in a
A
while.
while, right?
I haven't
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, you might be right about that.
But yeah, so like as much as I love the IMAX experience, especially IMAX 3D, and going to a proper IMAX. I just like only
Seats are fucking
only
terrible.
certain movies are gonna make it. You know, like Guardians. I'm very happy to make that drive and sit in that theater for that experience. But it's gonna have to be an experience. I'm guessing is gonna be visually like a Guardians from here on out. Like I'm not making that drive for like another Mission Impossible down the road.
We
you know
need
what I
what
mean?
we need to do is we need to buy our seats with one in between each of us.
Yeah.
So most likely nobody's gonna buy a single seat in between.
Yeah.
Somebody. Otherwise, they're a fucking dickbag.
A weirdo.
Just so we have that a little bit extra room, because man, Mike trying to grab my thigh was uncomfortable, even with the lights on.
I thought it
the
was
best part.
hilarious.
Because it wasn't happening to you.
Exactly.
It was a very strong and firm grip.
But yeah, so it.
How do you think
Felt-
I got it?
No, I'm good. I felt like I was gonna be controlled any moment.
You were coming close to. Yeah.
I tried to get him to pull an
Nope.
Eric and spit liquid
Oh.
all over himself and
That's
us,
awful.
but
Yeah, I wish more theaters were like that. I mean, just going to the IMAX, like almost right away, we were experiencing the things that I fucking hate. It's like, okay, somebody needs to cross in front of you, so you stand up a little bit.
yeah, those because If you've ever been to one of those, anybody listening, the seats go up very high, very quick, so it's not a very deep theater.
It's very steep.
And when they do that, the rows are extremely close.
Yeah.
Like, extremely
Like,
close.
I hate AMC, the whole experience of AMC, but I really love that auditorium they have. But, like, I feel like if I go back to that one, it's going to have to be, like, on a Tuesday afternoon or something like that. Because, like, just everything else about AMC blows.
Yeah. That's why I was thinking Sunday night at the IMAX late would be not that bad. I mean, obviously it was opening weekend for Guardians, so it wasn't the best choice in the world. But
Yeah.
It was gorgeous.
Absolutely gorgeous.
The movie, not the theater. Theater's fucking
Yeah,
so old
theater
and
is
trash.
just, well, it's a theater.
Yeah.
I mean, it's better than the Surprise Theater, but whatever.
Well, yeah.
But gorgeous, absolutely fucking funny. Just
Well, the movie's
hilarious all the way through.
super fucking sad.
Yeah, let's not get into that.
Oh, we're gonna get into it.
God, well, you can get into that. You like being depressing.
It's fucked up, bro.
I wasn't going to mention it.
Yeah, you were, because I was gonna bring it up. If not me, Mike was gonna bring it up. Because much like myself, Michael wept as well.
Oh, yeah.
The first time.
Yeah, the first time.
Second time, I knew I was around in an unsafe place for my emotions. So I made sure I tried hard.
The second time, I knew it was going
AKA
to come
with
up, so I
Jen?
knew the lines that were going to happen. So I was already welling up.
Yeah.
And then as soon as they were said, I was like, just weeping into my beard. I was like, well, no one can see you cry in the dark, unless they turn around where the light's reflecting off.
I cried the first time I watched this. I cried like as much as I cried. Not as much, but I haven't cried as much during a movie since Manchester by the Sea. And that movie was created to make you cry. So, James Gunn, good job, you fucking dick. Because
Manchester City, produced by Kleenex.
yeah,
The emotions ran high on both ends of the spectrum, and everyone in between, really. There was moments where you cried because you were laughing.
Mm-hmm.
There was times where you cried because, god damn it, it was sad. Other times it was like a happy cry, and I'll spoil it. It was during the funeral scene.
Yeah.
Like it's like
Well,
means
like-
so much.
we'll go the last 15 minutes of the movie because there's very subtly put in there underlining tones of like what's going on, and you kind of feel sadness for everybody and emotion to everybody, but it's very understated and it's surrounded by action or comedy.
Mm-hmm.
The last 15 minutes of the movie, they just fucking bombard you with emotional shit.
Well, it's 'cause
And-
where everything comes, everything that
Yeah,
they set up from.
Everything was setting up to those last 15 minutes, just emotionally nut punching you.
What you don't realize is the first 3/4 of the movie, James Gunn is setting up these emotional dominoes in this elaborate design. Then you get to the last 15 minutes, he's like, yo, like this, and he kicks you right in your emotional gut, which is actually your gut. And as more dominoes fall, the more you cry. And he literally does not, like, it'll start to have this gap, and you're like, oh, it's gonna, and then he hits you again, and then again, and then finally at the end, he's just like, open hand slapped.
Yeah,
I was like, well, you, buddy.
it was rough, man.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent, though.
And whose funeral was it? Cody.
Yondu's.
Yondu died, man. What the fuck?
Not only did he die, but his death had emotion, big emotion on it. It had weight to it, and it was actually well done, Joss Whedon.
Because you cared. That's the other thing. Whedon killed Quicksilver in that Avengers movie, and nobody gave a fuck. So you wasted a death in the Marvel universe for a character that you had no time to get invested in.
Mm-hmm.
Because at that point, if you remember, in the Avengers, he was like kind of a bad guy for the first half of that movie.
Yeah.
And then barely started helping. So you literally have only seen this dude being a good guy for like 5 minutes of screen time. And then he dies, and it sucks. You're like, oh, I didn't want that to happen. But I didn't feel like there was any emotional connection to him. And I'm like, well, if you're going to kill off a character in a movie, like, make it mean something.
Like all the deaths in Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
Well, not all the deaths in Saving Private Ryan. The main character deaths in Saving Private Ryan. By the way, spoiler alert, if you don't know, majority of the cast of Saving Private Ryan dies.
Yeah.
In the bulk of the movie, especially Vin Diesel.
And what doesn't help this with Quicksilver is that he existed at the same time over in the X-Men universe. In the X-Men movie.
Yeah, not even.
But that's what I'm saying is like
you had a different one. You
had a different one, but it was the same character. Like it just didn't mean anything.
So with I'm trying to think. Marvel. It's the only two real deaths, right?
Yes.
Like I don't know real deaths
of a headlining character.
Yeah. So this one you have the first of Guardians movie with Yondu, and there's you on the surface he's kind of a bad guy, but not really because he helped out when he needed to, and then at the very end he's not a bad guy because he knows he got taken by Star-Lord because he didn't give up the stone, and he smiles. Like it wasn't like he opened up the orb and saw the troll and got mad and threw it. He opened up the orb, saw the troll, and he smiled. Mm-hmm. And you're like, Yondu's a good dude. And in this one, you get some more of his backstory, why he is the way he is. There's some sad shit, and even the scene where he's just got done fucking the sex robot, which
robots.
He didn't.
Robots.
If you haven't seen the movie, don't worry. There's not this weird sex robot scene. But
which is a shame.
It's implied.
He was his father. He's blue.
Yeah. So but even that scene, like him getting dressed and he's like he looks like disgusted with himself and he kind of hates everything and all of his like crew is out having fun and he just kind of is in there and you're like, oh shit, this guy is obviously empty, and then he, spoiler, kind of saves the day, especially for Star-Lord.
So he saves Star-Lord.
Yeah, saves his life.
Dying.
And
twice,
then
technically.
The speech he gives and everything, and you're like, by this time you have essentially 2 full movies to really like this character, and
so not to cut Mike off real quick. And by the time the scene Mike's talking about when he saves Star-Lord's life after giving a speech, there's build up to it because there's 2 parts right before that you get really the insight into Yondu's character and the fact that you find out why he saved him or why he never delivered him to his dad, which we'll get to in a minute. And then the other thing is he breaks down himself to Rocket to help Rocket accept what he needs to get past what he's trying to in the end. But you get that and you're like, oh shit. And then you get that moment where like you essentially know something bad's gonna happen because like shit's gonna go down. You're like, oh, and you're like, god damn it, just someone make this not happen. But the thing that got me, speaking of the troll, not to cut you off, but I had watched the first movie before I went and saw it on Friday. I watched it Thursday or Friday morning before I went to work.
It's funny because I watched it Saturday morning before I watched it
with us.
No, Saturday.
Oh, Saturday morning. Yeah.
No.
And so there's so many things in the first one. If you have those fresh in your mind and you watch the second one, you remember parts of it, and one of them is the troll.
Yeah.
So if you're paying attention when the part Mike was talking about at the end of the first one, when he opens the orb thinking he's going to have the Infinity Stone, and it's a troll, during Yondu's funeral, they're all setting down trinkets, and Star-Lord sets that troll down. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, God. Because at first you kind of don't know what's happening, because they're all set, like, there's candles being lit, and they're, like, setting stuff down, and you've seen parts, you're like, you just don't know what it is. But when you sets, like, the one that triggers it is the little, I don't know if it's cat with that little blue crystal one
that he got from the first one.
Yeah, you see that set down by Gamora, and then you see Peter's hand put down the troll, and then it shows Yondu's face with the Ravager medals being put over him, draped over him, and you're like, fuck, you're not gonna switch around. They're not gonna see him die because it reminisces that whole part from the first one when Star-Lord gives Gamora his helmet and he starts to freeze to death in space, and of course it cuts and he's inside alive. This does the same thing, except for it stays on that for a long time, and he just kind of drifts the same way.
And they set it up because you see a couple of people die that way, so you kind of know, like, you know the timing in your head of how long in this world it takes or universe it takes for someone to die in that situation. Because going back to the first one, you saw how long Star-Lord lasted, and then earlier in the movie you see how long it actually takes for people to die, and it stays on it just long enough to let you know you passed that death mark. And it's just like, fuck, dude. Yeah, that one was heavy.
Yeah, and then the part I was talking about where you cry happy tears, and I don't mean those kind of happy tears, Joseph. I meant the kind you're in a good mood and you're on the edge of crying, but it makes you cry more. Is the funeral scene when they incinerate his body, the ashes are floating into space, and all these ships start jumping in, and you don't see it at first. You see everyone looking at something, and then they finally show it. And it's the ashes flying through all these ships that are now shooting off flares that look like fireworks. And you find out that it's a Ravager funeral. And you realize, and then Rocket says what he did, he basically told all of his old Ravager buddies what he did. And they basically reconciled their differences with him and came to give him a proper funeral. And it's a happy moment.
And
where,
going back to that, I know we're jumping all over the place, but they foreshadowed Yondu's death.
Let's just start from the beginning. We'll just catch up.
Nah, why? No. We never do. But they foreshadowed Yondu's death earlier in the movie with Sylvester Stallone's character,
Sakaar, or
yeah,
Starhawk, if you want to go by his original name.
So, and then he comes back for the funeral. So, but like, you don't even. When they talked about it early in the movie, I was like, oh, that's just something he's gonna say because he's mad at him, but. And you're like, oh, yeah, that's right. They gave us a warning.
Unlike the first movie, he foreshadows everything.
A lot, yeah, dude.
The first half of the movie, he, like, literally everything, even from, like, the opening scene, yes, opening scene, too, because he plants the plant with he shows his mom the plant. Ego shows his water lily. The plants, and you're like, oh, what's the plant for? And then you forget about it until way later. It just pays off. He literally sets everything up in a way where, like, you're gonna go back to it, but in a way that you forget what it's like. It doesn't like blatantly say like, "Hey, you're gonna die."
No,
it's just it's something, and then when you remember back at it, you're like, "Oh shit!" Like, that's right. So it adds that extra oomph to it because you're like, Rocket tells them, they show up, you're like, "Oh shit." Yes, he's getting that send off from his former crew and friends that he should. If Mike doesn't want to recall the whole movie from the beginning, we will go to top 3 favorite things from the movie. Michael, favorite scenes. Top 3 favorite scenes.
Favorite scenes. Joe, you go.
God damn it.
Joe, you go.
Well, off the top of my head right now, you have the opening credits because they're absolutely fun.
Yep.
Let's see, specific scene.
Or we can be part of a scene, like if you wanted like one specific portion of a scene.
No, and that's what I'm thinking. I think the expanded version of the Mantis, where you first meet Mantis, and she's doing the inside the ship, and she's doing the readings for everybody. Even that just whole scene was pretty funny. The Drax just fucking hilarious.
Drax kills it in this movie.
Oh
so
my god! Oh, you're so ugly.
Hideous. Oh, look at her.
Oh my god! Just so many of those fucking scenes that he does.
So well done.
And probably a little bit of the ending, right, where Star-Lord, because throughout the whole movie you find out, I mean, at the beginning, at the end of the first movie, you're like, he doesn't know his own father, and he's always wanted to know his own father. Here he finds his father, and once he gets over the fact
his father finds him.
Well, once he gets over the fact that that this, could be his father, because he finally accepts it. He is just so into it.
Yeah, he goes
He's so
full
happy.
bore.
He's so happy with it.
When he controls the light, like
Yeah,
that obviously
Yeah.
proves the fact that he is that the ego is saying that he is. That like it changes the outlook he has, and like changes his demeanor the entire time.
But then the fucked up shit is what you learn about that that ego is wanting to do, basically turn everything into him.
Yep. He wants to control.
He wants to
the entire
control.
galaxy.
But the part that I'm talking about is once you get past all of that, that you're learning just as backstory, and you get to the part where they're fighting ego, and you have Yondu, who gets taken out, and essentially the speech that you talked about earlier, where he's saying, I don't control the arrow with my head, I control it with my heart, and that's it's that.
It's a Rocky speech.
Well, no, what I'm saying is it's that like sudden realization in Star-Lord that literally Yondu has been his father this whole time.
Yep.
So that scene is it's a very powerful scene because it's been set up for 2 movies.
Even though in the first one you didn't realize it.
Even though in the first one you didn't realize, but you got hints of it because, and they address it in this movie. They say, Yondu threatened to eat him like a bunch of times when he was young. Well, I'm just joking about that. Who taught him how to fly a ship? Who taught him how to do all this stuff? Who taught him how to shoot a gun? Exactly. You're suddenly, and even Star-Lord Peter Quill is realizing, oh shit, like this is the guy I've been searching for this whole entire time, but this is the guy that is actually raised me and made me who I am. And so that scene right there was absolutely fantastic. So those would be my 3 scenes that I can think of right now.
Michael.
All right, after thinking about it and not listening to anything Joe said, my favorite scenes.
Old Joe.
Just kidding. Actually, the opening credits are fantastic because it kind of sets the tone for the first 80% of the movie, and then you get real fucking sad. But that's a lot of fun. But my 2 favorite like smaller scenes, not such on a broad thing, was when Ego says putting that tumor in her brain was the hardest thing I ever had to do, and Peter comes out of that trance and just shoots him, just bam, like he goes,
do you think
what?
you are?
Yeah, he goes, what? And then like his eyes go back to normal and he gets out of that trance, and it's literally about a second after he says it, he clicks back into Star-Lord and both guns out and just shoots the shit out of him. And as soon as that happened, like it reminded me, I don't know if you guys got this, but like I instantly, the first time I watched it, thought of Han Solo. That scene where Lando sets him up and they walk into that room and Vader's there.
The quick draw.
And he just, as soon as he sees Vader, he just guns out and starts shooting, even though he knows it's not gonna fucking do anything. So I thought that was super dope. I was like, oh, that's fucking badass. And because by this time you already know Ego's a bad guy, but you don't exactly know like why or like to what extent.
You don't know how far he's gone.
Yeah. And then when he says that, it's a gasp moment, and then Star-Lord goes into action instantly, which was super dope. And then my other favorite scene is during the Ravager funeral, the speech that Rocket gives, or when he's talking to Quill without looking at him, and then Quill gets what he's saying. That part was
because he references
really good.
the batteries.
Yeah. And Quill just instantly says, like, of course not, Mm-hmm. So that was really, really rough. So
it's a man emotional scene too, because it's 2 men coming together as brothers. I will have to say my 3 favorite scenes. Number 1 will be, let's see. Number 3, so least favorite of my top 3 favorites, will be the arcade-style drone controlling scene, where like the
Yeah, that's
they're-
pretty fun.
you see the drones and she says, you know, you're not killing anybody. They're remotely controlled, and you jump to that, and it's got arcade sounds, and you realize it's just like essentially a game to them.
Mm-hmm.
Like they disassociate killing these people because they're not, you know, like, but it's fun to them. They know they're doing it. They're. I'm not saying they don't know they're killing people, but they make it a game. And made me laugh because it was like all video game-ish, and they're just like angry when they get blown up and
But
stuff.
even towards the end of that scene where it's down to just the one
I'm gonna
pilot
get there.
left. Okay.
My favorite part of that is the Drax portion of it, when they get the back of their ship taken out, and Drax takes it in his own hands because the guns are down. He hooks the little tow cable to his belt, puts on the for fun spacesuit, which I thought was hilarious. It's scratched in there for fun. Takes a gun, then launches himself out the back, and he yells "Die spaceship!" and he shoots it. It just made me laugh, that scene. Like, but that whole that little sequence is phenomenal. My second favorite one will be the scene, and this will be a snippet of the scene, the part where Star-Lord fakes asking everybody for tape.
That's good.
That was fantastic.
And it's, for an audio nerd, that scene makes me super happy because the audio shifts around the theater, and you realize he's not going anywhere. He's just making it sound like he moved from one place to the other, because you realize they have communication devices, so you should be able to hear the other person, but he fakes asking everybody, and when Rocket calls him on it about asking Nebula, he goes, well, she was sitting right next to him, so it's kind of like asking. He's like, and he gets mad at him. That part makes me laugh. But the part that I enjoy about it is the audio, because you hear Star-Lord move around through that opening that they cut through with the hole, and you realize he's not actually going anywhere. It makes me laugh. And number one favorite scene is the reveal of potentially the villain for the third.
Oh man, you went Stinger scene.
Yep, third volume of the Guardians of the Galaxy. I assume that's what they're leading up to, is the fact that he will be their villain, because of where he comes from, and who I was speaking of is Adam Warlock.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people assume, because Adam Warlock was being held captive in a cocoon, very similar to the one that's inside the Collector's collection in the first movie, when he gets destroyed by the chick who grabs the Infinity Stone and detonates in front of everybody, letting loose Cosmo and Howard the Duck, but destroying many other display cases. One would be a dark elf. The other would be a weird-looking cocoon thing, and the cocoon was wrecked. Everyone assumed that was the cocoon holding Adam Warlock. Little did we know Adam Warlock hadn't been created yet. And in one of the Stinger scenes, which is one of 5 Stinger scenes that you have in the credits, so by far everybody stay all the way through, because the credits have a bunch of fun stuff sprinkled in, and I'll get there in a minute, or we'll get there in a minute. But you see the queen of these people in the villains in this movie, one of the villains in this movie, sitting there disheveled, and she gets approached by one of her aides, and they say they're ready for you, and she says they must be really upset at me for squandering their resources, but wait till they see what I've done. And they show it, and it's a big gold metal cocoon, very similar to the one you saw in the Collector's thing, but made of metal, and has all these wires. She says, I will call him Adam. When I first saw this movie on Friday with a bunch of work friends, I yelled out in the theater, holy shit. And when I say that, my 2 friends here in the room with me know I don't ever talk especially very loud in a movie, especially the first time I see it. I legitimately yelled out loud, holy shit. And I was so excited because right when she said that and they show the cocoon, I instantly saw from the comic books the first time Adam Warlock and Thanos ever met. And Thanos says to him, like, if I remember the line correctly, he says, someone so small shouldn't have so much power. And Adam turns to him and says, oh, you haven't seen all my power. And one punch lays Thanos out on his ass. And I want to see that on screen. I want to see Adam Warlock, a human-sized person, no bigger than Star-Lord or Bucky or Cap or any of those guys, punch this 7-something foot tall purple man so hard in the chin that he falls on his ass. I want to see that.
It'd be fun. Yeah.
And that's just the comic book nerd in me that wants to see that. But yes, that was my favorite scene because it's such a fucking amazing reveal for a Stinger scene that it's just it's like, oh, god damn it, you did such a good job. The credits that I was speaking of, and you guys can chime in on this too, is full of just fun stuff. The hidden I am Groots that reveal real words throughout the credits, which is really hilarious. But then the background stuff of like the pictures being drawn at first, and then the dancing scenes and little things like, if you don't know, from the Queen album cover is all 4 members of Queen with light hitting them from below looking up. They did that with all the different characters except for Groot, because he looks dead in the camera. Everyone else is looking straight up and has that iconic look of Queen to him. And except for him, and he's just like smiling right at the camera, and it's hilarious. But like the little stuff like Groot popping up behind planets, and then like the constellations being drawn and make it look like the different characters.
Yeah, Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum dancing for no particular reason.
He's in his character for Thor Ragnarok.
Yep.
But shows up in this end credits.
The Grand Master, as he's referred to.
Yeah, which was just like, that's hilarious, but what the fuck?
I believe that's so originally there was supposed to be a direct tie, because if you don't know, so far the only direct tie Guardians has to the other cinematic Marvel movies is the Infinity Stone from the first movie.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the only tie they have. There's no other characters that show up other than Thor's characters from the end of Thor 2 when they deliver to the Collector, which introduces the first ever Guardians of the Galaxy character, which is the Collector, into the cinematic universe. But in their movies, the only thing that connects them is the fact there is an Infinity Stone.
Yeah.
But no one from the other movies appear in the actual movies to link those two together. One thing I forgot to bring up is how dope was their version of hyperspace jumps.
It was pretty cool.
It was very fucking
It's weird
cool.
because we've seen hyperspace jumps in 1,000 movies.
Yep.
You know?
And then I got to thinking, we never saw in the first movie, right?
No.
They were just flying. They got to places that were far away, but you got a sense of they were flying there. You never really saw a jump of any type.
It was cool how like the grid thing would
open up, and then one grid spot, one little octagon, was it, right? Was it an octagon?
something like this. Yeah.
Hexagon, I think.
I might have hexagon. Opened up, and it was a completely different something on the other side. And even when they jumped through, I thought it was cool, and the sciencey half of it, they jumped from being in dead space to an atmosphere, and the ship lit on fire.
Yeah.
Because they broke into the atmosphere, but you didn't, not from outer space, so it's a slow build. Literally just jumps through the hole and just fire erupts because the heat and the friction of the ship hitting, I'm gonna guess oxygen of some sort, because they were able to breathe there. Lit on fire right away, and it was super cool.
But leads to another fucking hilarious scene
which
from
was
Drax.
one of my Drax is, but the other thing I was gonna say, one of my favorite scenes, wasn't my top 3, but have been my top 5, is Rocket. I call it the Looney Tunes scene.
Yeah.
Because it's him setting all the traps for the Ravengers, and then the part where you see the overhead shot of the trees and you see the different groups. It made me laugh a lot. But like other than the one guy who gets shot in the chest by one of the other Ravengers, I don't think he really killed anybody.
No,
because
well, it depends on what was
the
in
darts
those
hit them, and they look like they
Jones darts.
fall. Yeah, and it just looks like they kind of fall asleep because their eyes kind of roll back in their heads and they fall. Now, I'm not saying someone could have accidentally died by landing on one of those and then impaled themselves and bled out.
I'm sure
when they're
that
asleep.
somebody just like got a good concussion, probably just died from that.
Someone could have snapped the neck falling from the
Yeah.
And the electrocution thing could have gone wrong. Someone might have had a space pacemaker and they just fried and they weren't able to, continue living. But that seems pretty hilarious. And even that whole thing playing out with the mutiny half of it was awesome too, because like you knew Nebula was going to step in because she was guilting Groot into letting her out. but the devastation she does when she blows off Yondu's mohawk, which we find out is the controlling unit for his little arrow. More so in this movie.
Yeah.
You literally find out that's what it is. You're like I literally was like, oh shit, that dude's dead. Like, god damn, because he looked dead when he was like fell. I was like, that Yondu goes out. That's crazy. And then obviously it's not, because you see him dejected and beat up in the chair.
But he goes out.
Oh yeah, he goes out.
He dies.
But not before killing
They cremated him.
so many people. So many people. Him and Rocket murder so many people on that fucking Ravager ship. It's one of the greatest scenes. And one of the coolest looking scenes, both 2D and 3D, was the arrow breaking the lights and then killing all those dudes in the row. And
up.
every time he hits them and they light up, you can see it enter and exit somebody, then it goes dark, but you see the red light.
You know what that reminded me of? And I don't know if he meant to do this, because like the Han Solo thing I talked about earlier, I felt like with James Gunn that might have been in play when he, like, that thought might have been in his head a little bit. But this one reminded me, remember was it the third Christian Bale Batman movie, when he's in the tunnel
Dark Knight Rises,
and they bite from Dark Knight Returns.
Oh yeah,
a little bit in
the
the tunnel, yeah, and all the light in the tunnel is just off the gunfire, and Batman is just getting closer and taking out other people with each. Like, that's kind of what it reminded me of. I was like, oh, this is dope,
but way
dude.
more one-sided.
Oh yeah,
Because
yeah,
there's
a whole
no one
lot
to
more
shoot at
death.
if they were going to shoot at somebody, but also Batman knocked those guys out. Air quotes if you guys couldn't see me. Yondu murdered those motherfuckers.
There are a lot of them.
Yeah, but in 3D though, the most impressive one was the first one, when they come around the corner and the guys stop there and he throws the arrow and it goes slow-mo, which, by the way, he uses slow-mo in this movie tremendously.
Yeah,
and you
it
see
doesn't
the
feel
arrow
like a gimmick.
enter, and you can see it push in, and then it cut through the material, and then
when the
hit
material
the flesh.
popped back out.
Yep, and it kind of swallows the arrow and the red, I'm guessing, trail, the engine trail or whatever, the vapor trail, follows it through the hole, and then exits through the back, and then it cuts to like just jump shots of it just killing everybody in the hallway. But yeah, just the spinning shot of Rocket using the monitors to shoot people through the walls, and the arrow, and of course you hear the whistle as it just goes up, 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 and you see how intricate and crazily designed the Ravager ship is, and you just see like the trail just everywhere, and just bodies falling, getting shot, and like, oh, it's fantastic.
The way he takes out Taserface was fantastic too.
Taserface is like, I dodged it. I like the 3D played up more of the slow-mo scenes than I thought it was going to. And seeing it in 3D the second time, I think, made me appreciate him more, because I knew what they looked like in 2D. But obviously you don't, Joe, so I'll explain the one specifically I'm talking about is when Star-Lord jumps off. So they've already cut the hole into Ego's shell, but it got stopped so it didn't get all the way through. And he jumps off, and right as he jumps off, one of the drone ships is coming at him, and he fires, and they fire, and you can see the blaster gonna miss him, and you see him trailing. He's, and I love the effects they use on his gun, because I think it was played up a lot more in this one than it was in the first one. I'm not saying I think it was played up more in this one, because of the fact that they had more money to play with this time, because they knew they were make it back.
A lot more money.
Yeah. But you saw
too.
the trail from his gun, kind of chemical effect, and then you see their fire, and like you hit it. Oh, dude, it's so gorgeous. I was like, because it's so much depth, because you're inside the hole, and he's just outside, and he's moving. You see his jetpack propelling him, and then you see the drone coming in. Oh, so fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
So good. So good. Yo, that Star Wars trailer was dope in 3D, by the way, was it not?
Yes,
not
sir.
to distract us from this movie. I think we're done talking about the movie, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, Stan Lee's cameo, fantastic. Both parts of it. Right?
Yeah. No, it was good.
Okay. Star Wars trailer, for The Last Jedi.
Hold on, real quick before we get into that. Sylvester Stallone's in this movie. How fucking dope was that?
And no fucking Tango and Cash reunion.
I was
Now
okay.
that I know what Ego's role in the movie was, it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
They never actually run into each
But
other.
like, I'm so fucking excited to see Stallone in more Marvel movies. Hopefully,
Total of
their
6.
own.
I don't know how that fuck's gonna play out, but
Hopefully, its own little standalone. Go
because
steal
I
some
can only
shit.
count 4 that he would show up in at all. This is one of them. So Volume 2, Volume 3, and both Infinity War movies, which you aren't counting is Marvel's The Avengers Infinity War, and then Marvel's Avengers Infinity Gauntlet are the 2 Avengers movies, or cinematic universe movies, really. So that's 4 that I know that they're in. Now there could be 2 stinger scenes from other movies.
Yeah, I was
leading
gonna
into those
say,
ones.
what if he like shows up in?
Because those are counted as being
That's
in a
how,
movie.
yeah, that's how Sam Jackson filled his up so quick.
Well, I was saying with Iron Man too.
Yeah.
That's why they had to rewrite his contract as a Hulk.
I want. I don't know how they'll do it, but I want him in a big role. Yeah, because this was more than a cameo, but not much more. Like a very important part to it, to Yondu's backstory, but also like it could have been anybody. But it was dope that for this role. That's what I love about Marvel is they get these roles that literally could be anybody. I mean, going back to having
You had Glenn Close as
Glenn Close as
Nova
yeah.
leader.
Boss, yeah.
I'm spacing on the comedian's name that just passed away recently. He was the senator in the Iron Man.
Oh, Gary Shandling.
Oh,
Yeah, Gary Shandling. Like just roles like that where you're like, oh, that could be a
Literally
fucking,
could be any character actor
yeah.
in the world. Someone we couldn't even know who
Yeah.
was. And it's
These really good actors.
and then,
going
but the
into
other thing
them.
too is like when you have him and they're like they have lines like "Hail Hydra."
Yeah.
Robert fucking Redford says "Hail Hydra."
Yeah.
Gary Shandling, in all seriousness, says "Hail Hydra." You're like, are you fucking kidding me? Like,
Yeah, and like Redford's was like a more intricate role
Because he was
so
the
that
main
one
villain,
made
yeah.
more sense. But
but
just the
to
fact
ha-
they're going out.
But to
and
see
getting
Robert
these-
Redford and
Ving
hear him
Rhames?
say,
I didn't know Ving Rhames was in this movie. How dope was
Yeah.
that? And he's giant as shit.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, Ving Rhames and Stallone stealing shit. And then it didn't dawn on me, but the voice,
the robot head.
yeah, it was Miley Cyrus.
Yes, and the crystal guy is Michael
Rosenbaum.
Rosenbaum, yeah, from Lex Luthor from Smallville.
Man, who's the girl? The head
Oh,
Ravager.
not,
she looks super familiar, but I can't remember.
Yeah, I kept thinking her name. I kept saying her name wrong. I can't think of her name right now. I kept thinking it was the chick from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. That's Michelle Yeoh. That's the different lady. I can't remember her name. I know you know who she is.
Yeah.
But
the,
yeah,
the
like,
stinger scene, just to kind of give you guys context, was Stallone saying it was like essentially saying it was a shame that it took a tragedy like Yondu dying to get us back together, but I think he'd be proud of what we kind of accomplished or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's just all the heads of certain Ravager groups, and they're all fucking together as like a group, and it's like a 6-man, 7-team group.
Six, yeah.
Yeah, and then like he ends it by fucking racking a space shotgun and saying, "Let's go steal some shit." And I was like, give them a movie, give them their own movie of them just stealing shit. It's gonna be so good.
Make it a heist movie.
They could.
Yep. Ravager heist movie.
Yes. It could have nothing to do with anything else Marvel in the
Does it
world.
have to be?
Like,
I mean, other than the fact
it
that
could be a
already is.
low budget for Marvel
Yeah, well,
world.
I mean,
A low budget
an
movie.
Ant-Man level
It
budget.
could be lower than that, man. They can go in with like a 100 mil, less than 100 mil,
Less than 100 million, you say?
and go well for a Marvel movie.
Yeah,
We know that
nowadays,
shit's gonna play big, but make it happen. I want Jon Favreau to come back and direct that one. Favreau directing a
busy.
Ravager heist movie,
He's busy though. He's
Fuck-
busy
fuck
on the
that
other,
guy.
other side of Disney.
making cartoons come to life.
You love Jungle Book,
I do.
and you're gonna love fucking Lion King.
I'm still confused by that, but we'll talk about that later.
It's in the
All
same
right,
way.
Star Wars trailer is super dope.
Star Wars trailer. So Star Wars Last Jedi trailer. It's the same one. It's not anything new. Same
But it's
teaser
3D
trailer.
for the
But it was
first
3D
time.
and it was fucking dope.
Yeah.
Like just like again, I don't know. My favorite scene when Kylo is just twisting the blade in the air, but the depth you got on it, I was like, man, that anger looks even worse in 3D. But like the explosions were dope, and you see Phasma and her crew walking through the flames. You're like, dang, and you see it pose X-wing get engulfed by flames. You're like, dang, and you see him running down the hallway. Like, dang. Even Finn's fucking transport back to tube thing was fucking dope too, because like you could see like into the glass and you could see the imperfections and the scratches on it. I was like, dang, dang, you guys is good at your job and shit. Like this isn't your first gig, you know what I mean? Yeah, no, that was dope. What else? No, the difference in trailers was odd to me. When I saw it the first time at a Harkins, and the second time at a Harkins, technically, and one in IMAX. Even though Spider-Man: Homecoming is gonna be in IMAX, there was no trailer for it in front of Guardians, but it was in front of the 2D version I saw.
I missed,
which I thought was weird.
I got there just in time for the movie to start. I think,
yeah. So they were almost all the same, but there was, and so
like I caught the Star Wars trailer.
We saw
the last one.
Star Wars. We saw Thor. We saw Dunkirk. We saw Mummy in front of IMAX.
Yeah.
We saw those same ones, but with Spider-Man.
Huh.
Also, when I saw it in 2D. Star Wars was last in both, though, which I thought was weird in a way. But obviously, they're both space operas, but I would have thought Thor would have been the one that definitely would have been attached to every screen with Guardians, because it's the next Marvel only. Because obviously, Spider-Man's the next one. Which I thought was weird that it wasn't in front of the IMAX version, because it is an IMAX. Maybe their deal doesn't apply to all those, because like with all the Marvel movies, they're guaranteed an IMAX slot on all IMAX screens when they release. Mm-hmm. So I can't imagine what else is going up against Spider-Man that would be infringing on that. But it's weird that because I saw the poster in the lobby, is the one of him laying on the roof of the train. So I expected to see it, but it was weird.
Yeah, they just probably don't have it set up yet.
Horse shit. Dunkirk. So we got our first real story trailer. I don't think it's the final trailer, but it's our first full story trailer. That trailer alone gave me a panic attack. And I don't know how that fucking movie's gonna make me feel.
Depressed?
Because fuck you. Dude, it's just the last 25 seconds of the trailer. When the boats rolling over on him, and the water's rushing in and pushing that guy up and you can see it's pushing him into the corner, which is the last bit of air, and then you have those two boats closing on the guy, and they're trying to get him, but he's being sucked back by. I was like, no, because I watched it on my phone for the first time, which was fucking dumb to do. I do that, and it ruins watching trailers. You need to see them on the big screen, at least a nice big TV, if not the big screen. And then seeing it on the big screen at the first time I saw Guardians on the regular normal size movie screen, and then seeing it fucking 9,000 feet wide on the fucking IMAX, I was just like, my heart is no longer strong enough for scenes like this. So unless you can give me a waiver, or a contract saying that these dudes are gonna be okay, I feel like that movie's gonna make me have heart palpitations.
Oh yeah, most of those guys are gonna die.
And the way that trailer starts off too, when 400,000 men, I was like, man, that is a lot of extras that are gonna die. Mm-hmm. You trying to tell me all 400,000 of those dudes got out of there?
But at least they gave more context to when Cillian Murphy's character gets picked up by that boat.
Yeah.
In the first trailer,
yeah,
you're like,
sure.
Why is there? And then the guy, the boat captain's literally like, we're going to Dunkirk, and he's like, but people are dying there.
Yeah.
Let's
we go there, we'll
go
die.
There.
Yeah.
So it just this trailer makes it much more sense as
because it actually gives you the context, but it's reason it's called a story trailer for the people who don't know. Is it gives you an idea of what the story's about. Because up until this end, I had no idea what like the Battle of Dunkirk was even like until I saw this trailer, and then I had to look it up because I can't imagine why. The word Dunkirk I had heard before, but it held no actual meaning behind it. Especially when, like, probably should have looked it up when we first heard that his new movie was going to be called Dunkirk. Even though it totally sounds like a fucking like throwaway name.
Well, the thing is, with Christopher Nolan, you're not used to him doing these historically accurate, even if it isn't historically accurate, but these historical movies. You know, if Steven Spielberg would have said he's doing Dunkirk, you wouldn't know what it is, so you could look it up and and find out what it is. But with Christopher Nolan, you're just like, well, it could be sci-fi, it could be action.
Yeah, like Interstellar. Like Interstellar, automatically knew it's sci-fi, right? You give me the name Interstellar, and it's him. I'm like, oh, it's in space.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not gonna say I knew what it was when he told me it was Batman. I knew what it was because it was Batman. But it goes back to like Insomnia. You say the word Insomnia, I know what that movie's about.
Yeah.
Dunkirk, I was like, what? Like, what's Kirk done with? Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then so like, it's weird that this. I don't know how he landed on this particular story. I don't know if he has some kind of attachment to it because he is British. But like, it just seems like such a weird thing to pick on. Like, not pick on, but like, choose for a movie that we've never really heard anything about.
Yeah.
But it also seems like, I think because it doesn't really have a super happy ending. But it seems like an amazing story of what happened. These people, so if you guys don't know, I'm going to spoil a bit for you. These regular people who own boats on, I'm going to guess, some ocean city area. I'm not too sure where they come from. They're English. Get in their recreational boats and drive across to Dunkirk to basically help save these soldiers who are cut off by the bad guys. And this, I think it's all Germans, right?
Yeah, it's World War II.
Well, I mean, it's all. But this front is Germans.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're cut off. Their ships are being destroyed. Nothing can get in, and they're stranded on this beach because the Nazis are literally surrounding them on land, and the only option they have is to be trapped on this beach. And so these regular people get in their boats, risking literally everything, including their lives, to try to rescue most of these 400,000 soldiers that are they're stranded on this beach. And it looks intense as fuck. And I'm happy to finally see that they showed more of this new kid that he discovered. That's not Harry Styles. It's that new kid you see in all the shots in it.
Tom Hardy?
Tom Hardy, yeah.
Tom Hardy, that new kid, Tom Hardy?
Not on the plane. The soldier that's on the ground.
That kid's going places, let me tell you.
Tom Hardy?
Yep.
Yeah, he's gonna be a Batman movie. He's the kid that he discovered. I guess he's done something before this, but nothing of note. So he believes that he's the next Christian Bale, I guess you could say. But yeah, so because Christian Bale was really nobody before Batman.
I wouldn't say so.
He built up a nice.
Not for the most part.
He already had American Psycho, and
yeah, but like most people didn't know he was.
Well,
this guy over here.
Well, he had what else did he had? He had The Machinist came out right before.
No,
Yeah.
Well, Machinist came out right before, but
Yes.
it didn't have the same push and everything. The reason it got is because they knew that he's.
I'm saying like obviously it pushed him to superstardom.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. But for the
he
most
was
part,
he headlined a movie.
Oh, well,
he headlined
yeah.
movies.
yeah. Well, so did Tom Hardy.
Not here.
Exactly. I'm saying he wasn't as big as a star until Batman.
Okay,
That's what I'm trying to get at.
that's fair.
He wasn't a mainstream actor before Batman. Is what I'm trying to say about that. I believe he was a star before. I mean, he could have. I don't think he would have had as much star power as he did if he wasn't in Batman. But I think he would have got there for sure. For sure. Faux show. Let's see where we're at. We're there. Anything else? We didn't talk about NXT at all. We went to NXT last week.
It was fun.
It was fucking
fun.
rad. It's just fun to go and be amongst them, like the people. Say them. That sounded super bad.
Yeah, dude.
Amongst the
fans?
fans, like the wrestling fans, because
I'm a lifelong wrestling fan, and I don't even like saying
yeah, well I know.
I'm part of that group.
Yeah.
The thing about it is like, so if you watch WWE, any version of their live of their shows, their 19,000 shows they have, there's this interaction the crowd has as a whole that plays to the excitement in the ring. You know, they're obviously
A good crowd can make a good match great,
yeah.
and a bad crowd can make a good match shitty.
Yeah.
You know?
So when you have like a WrestleMania or any of the big pay-per-view ones, those people there are like super excited to be there, and they like, you know, waited for tickets and blah blah blah, right? When you go to these small shows, I didn't know what to expect. Like I didn't expect the participation to be as much as you see when you watch NXT on TV, when the crowd's singing along with the entrance music and playing up to Bobby Roode's "Glorious" when he's in the middle of the ring,
Yeah,
and
or
the
the
10 for
chant.
for Dillinger.
For fucking everything at this
Well,
point.
yeah, this
the
way-
10 chant has
yeah.
just literally taken over
Yeah.
the world.
But then the interaction between the stars and the crowd is fantastic. The people who you're supposed to be booing and you are booing react to it. And then the people who are doing stuff like when Bobby Roode had Ty Dillinger up on the ropes on the top and he's coming down with the punch, you're supposed to count him out. 1, 2, 3, right? Because you're only supposed to get so many shots in the corner when you have someone down like that, right? But because everyone loves Ty Dillinger and everyone loves hates
every number outside of the pinning counts.
Yes.
Every number, if Ty Dillinger is anywhere in the vicinity, it's gonna
10.
be a 10.
so
So when the ref is trying to count people out on the outside, when it's a 1
10.
through 10, it's all 10.
It's just 10.
Just
10.
10,
10,
over and over
10.
and over again.
So the part I'm talking about, which you're not going to be able to see because it wasn't on TV, which is a shame because it was a perfect TV moment, is Bobby Roode has Dillinger up against the turnbuckle,
Yeah.
and he's his feet are up, and he's pinning him there, and he's going to punch down, and he looks at the crowd, hey, you're going to count this out with me, right? So he swings once. Everyone yells 10. He looks up.
confused. Like
confused.
he pulls his fist back and he just looks up
And he goes
so
in for a
funny.
second one, and they go 10. He goes, shut up! And just yells at the crowd. And then he goes for a third one. We all yell 10 again. And then he's like, he just gets pissed off.
And he
it was-
and he moves.
yeah, and it's just that was so awesome to be part of. Like, but also like to see like the fandom and the enthusiasm that people have with it. And we were kind of in a bad spot because some asshole behind us kept trying to be funny. And every now and then he land one that's kind of clever and funny. But for the most part, he's just screaming nonsense and sometimes racist stuff.
Yeah.
Super racist stuff.
Sometimes not so subtly racist.
Oh, no, I don't think any of them were subtle. It was a stretching monkey. I was like, you're not allowed to say that even if you are of that color. Pretty sure.
Yeah, some of it was pretty bad.
Yeah. But for the
But,
most part, it was fantastic. I
It was a
enjoyed
good
it a lot.
time. I was happy I got to see DIY live for the first time.
Yeah, that was fun.
This is actually the second time I got to see Bobby Roode live, but a much different character for him than the first time I saw him live. And that was like 5 years ago, and in that 5 years, he is so much better now. Like, and he was good then. But what's funny to me, especially on a house show being a non-televised event, is you really know who the like experienced ones are, and it's not shitting on people who are still learning because people forget. But as cool and as popular as NXT is, it's still basically a developmental territory for people trying to get to the main roster. But it's kind of developed into its own brand. But like watching Bobby Roode, you're like, oh, this guy's he's head and shoulders above a lot of other people. Like everything, just his timing, his reactions, his moves. Like, it's just, and he didn't, if you really think about it, he didn't do that much
No.
during the match. But when you're really, really good, you don't have to do that much. You feed off the energy of the crowd, and you pick your moments, and you time it, and you pace it properly. And he's just fucking great at that.
And you realize, not to cut you off, you realize how much preparation and writing goes into it, because I'm spoil it for anybody who doesn't know this, that they're all pre-written. So they know who's gonna win, who's gonna lose. It's not like a coin flip before they go out there or an actual match. But you got to realize, like, when they're practicing, I wonder how much he adjusts what's going on to how much the crowd's gonna react to something, or the stuff that he does on the fly then and there when they are reacting.
Okay, so this is what I'll say. For like that match, that was that tag team main event match.
The surprise tag team match?
That match happened, and I looked it up. It happened in Phoenix, it happened in Riverside, and it happened in San Diego.
Which is the 3 dates they did before returning to Orlando.
Yeah, so that was their 3-date tour through the Southwest. So that match happened, but I guarantee you the premise, because with Bobby Roode and Ty Dillinger, Hideo Itami have been doing this for so long, and especially Rude here in the States and Ty Dillinger here in the States, like they know these fans really, really well. So I guarantee you they know going in, them at that level, they know going in, okay, we're gonna do this. At some point we're gonna set up this spot, and this is our go home is gonna be this for the finish. Like, they know the outline. Everything else in between for guys of that level are just feeding off the crowd and seeing what they want to do, and seeing what's working, or maybe trying some stuff to later on put on TV. When you get down to like the women tag match, all those girls were, I mean, Ruby Riott was the most popular from TV, and she's only been on TV for a short while at this point.
Yeah.
I guarantee that match was probably much more step by step.
Like it played the way it was written.
Yeah, like I don't foresee any of them being at that level yet to say, okay, we're just gonna call it in the ring, see what happens, and kind of get to this and this. I guarantee you that was a little bit more like, we're gonna do this, you're gonna cut me off, you're gonna get the tag, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna try to get the tag, you're gonna stop me, so on and so forth. Like, it's a little bit more planned out for them until they get the feel for it. But like, that's what, like I said, makes, when you see DIY, who's been wrestling on the indies for 15 years before coming to NXT,
Together?
like, no.
Oh, separately.
Yeah, separately, because they didn't come together as a team until NXT.
Okay.
But they've known each other for a long time, so it helped the transition along. So like, those guys are like, you know, like when they go out for a match, this is gonna be our ending. We'll get to it, and we got 15 minutes, whatever the time is they got, and they're gonna go out there and play to the crowd. Bobby Roode, Ty Dillinger, they're gonna go out there and play the crowd. The other guys, Drew McIntyre is at that level where he can go out there. His was a little bit more. His match was probably the most lopsided in terms of experience.
Oh yeah.
Drew McIntyre has been doing this for a long time at a very high level, at the WWE level. He was in the main event scene on the main roster for a stretch of time. Patrick, I forgot his Clark. Hey, good job, man. Patrick Clark.
Things.
He was on the Tough Enough show, and he's only been wrestling total for like 4 years, which is really nothing.
Infancy.
And like, most wrestlers will tell you it takes you 10 to get good. You know, like, that's a pretty common thing, and that's if you're going out there multiple times a week and touring and trying to get out there and do different
like Roger
things.
Strong's type of thing.
Yeah, so like, that one was interesting because you could see like Patrick Clark has something with that character, because some of the crowd, he comes out, he's got this weird like Prince like / Liberace character. That
It's
he's
like
doing
a mix between Liberace and Prince, with a little bit of Dave Chappelle's Prince thrown in.
Yeah,
because it's played up more. Because with Prince, like,
it's very flamboyant.
Like, yes, it's more flamboyant than what Prince would normally do.
Yeah, but he's got the purple tights, and he's got the weird like Jack Sparrow walks. You know,
the saunter.
But he's onto something with that character, because as over and as popular as Drew McIntyre is, and as good as he is, and everybody loves him, like some of the crowd started chanting for Patrick at certain points in the match, and that's not a knock on Drew McIntyre. That's a house show realizing that, like, hey, this Patrick kid
Pretty fun.
is fun, and he's got something. Like, you could tell there's something there with that character.
Yeah, because
it's not at the level it needs to be at yet, obviously.
Yeah.
And it probably, if he sticks with this character, he probably won't really sink his teeth into it for another 2 years until he gets it perfectly fine-tuned. And that's if he's really going after it. But that was probably the match with the most lopsided experience factors against each other.
You think so?
And that one was a lot of fun.
With the Lorcan fight or match with Lorcan.
Oh,
with,
Only and
yeah.
Cassius? Nah, Only's been doing it for a long time.
Okay, has he?
Yeah, he's been on the indie scene for a while. Cassius Ohno's great too.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
Because he's such a lumbering dude.
But when he turns it on, he's so fucking athletic.
Yeah,
that you're like, oh, okay.
Like, a guy that looks like that shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And he does. Because you expect the stuff he does, you expect a Drew McIntyre who does do that to do that. Like,
Yeah.
you look at a Drew McIntyre, you're like, all right, you're too fucking big to be wrestling. But also, like, I see him jump off the top rope, I expect it. You see Cassius Ohno do it, you're like, bro, you're going to hurt yourself.
Yeah.
And hurt him.
Yeah, he had this dope ass spot.
He does need the onesie though, because it's a little bit unsettling to see the Speedo with that.
I don't know if that's
better or worse.
his call or WWE telling him to put a shirt on. 'Cause that seems like something they might do.
There are no rules.
But he's a chubby dude. But that's athletic as fuck, and he knows his character well. And just like the little things he does, like when he puts an armbar on somebody and he switches it out to the fingers and pull the fingers out, like that kind of shit. That's good stuff, man. That's little details that, again, 10 plus years in the business. That's why he's getting stuff like that. And that's another thing. He probably didn't do that much. Like, Patrick got reaction, but Patrick was taking crazy bumps, doing nut moves. Like, he was really going after it. And then the guys who are further along in their career, which seems counterintuitive because you would think, oh, this guy's doing all this crazy shit, that match is way more fun, but not necessarily. Like, it doesn't always make sense. So Bobby Roode probably fell 4 times in his match.
Yeah.
If
and one
that,
was to get out of the ring and escape. Yeah.
And so he probably walked out of that match barely breaking a sweat and was the best match of the night. So, but it was a lot of fun seeing them all. And I saw some people we haven't seen on TV yet. Like Patrick Clark we haven't seen on TV yet. Briefly.
The two girls
the
that
girls
went against
that one girl,
Mandy Gold.
Mandy Gold, yeah.
God damn, she was hot.
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah. And then that tall black chick with the giant long
with
braided
fucking
ponytail.
What's her face right in the face with it?
Dude, when you guys see this chick on TV, if you watch NXT, I don't know how far along she is or when she's coming, but she's touring, so that means she's probably coming soon to TV. This bitch has a braided ponytail going down below her knee. Like, when she's standing straight up, it touches like below her knee. And she hits people with it, and it's hilarious. But also, like, she stepped on it at one point when she was bent down. When she went to get up, she like had to move her foot. I was like, "That's not practical, lady. You gotta cut that shit. You can't be stepping on your hair in a wrestling
match. Do a hair match, dude.
Oh, dude, that's gotta
a mixed hair match with her
and Baron Corbin.
And I don't know who their partner.
Baron Corbin, you need to cut that hair too, man. That
because he's losing it.
That shit's going bye.
We'll just throw Drew McIntyre and Cassius Ohno
because they're
gonna long hair, but they're not gonna lose. So we'll team those two up against. Oh no, we need another female though, right?
Yeah, we'll do Mandy Rose, Mandy Love.
Mandy Love.
Max, what's her name?
Mandy Gold.
Mandy Gold. Sorry.
He's like, I'm in love. That's what I was trying to say.
I'm in love. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. Comerica is a weird setup for wrestling.
It's a theater. That's what I don't understand.
The seats are too.
The seats are fucking terrible.
Yeah, the seats are fucking awful.
Which is funny because they were better than the ones Joe and I were in for Perfect Circle. Because you wouldn't have sat down at all.
No.
There was parts where I was thinking about going up to the railing behind us and just standing up and watching part of the show there.
Mm-hmm.
Seats are terrible, dude. Terrible. And Mike and I are big dudes, and those seats are very not friendly.
And Joe wasn't comfortable, and he is.
That's
he's tall.
I had the opposite problem. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was a lot of fun.
And then Darkin slapped that lady in the face by accident.
Oh, that was hilarious.
He was so excited to see us. We were talking, and he just hits this poor lady in the face because he's talking, frailing his hands about like a madman.
That's how Darkins does it. Just flails around.
It was pretty funny though.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
And we didn't say anything to the lady either. We were just like,
He said sorry and then
Yeah.
just went on talking.
Yeah.
But we did not say anything to her.
we're
all.
we're gonna just ignore this whole situation
Yep.
happen.
Let's just pretend that did not go on. So yeah, I guess that we're just gonna wrap it up. Our producer's giving us the Joe's going to sleep sign.
Go home.
Yep.
So
Take it home.
Boom. There you are. How many Falcons are in a Google? I like Mike.
I want to Google Falcons.
Do it. You're gonna get Falcons, the football team, most likely.
A Google of Falcons.
A Google of that's a lot of fucking Falcons, by the way. That may be more than any other bird on this planet.
Is there that many Falcons?
No, we
Huh?
would
Is there that many birds?
combined
Flying
probably not.
birds.
Probably not.
Animals.
The whole
on this-
world.
Yeah, dude.
Count chickens.
100 zeros.
Count chickens.
Yes.
Ah, I want to Google birds.
I want to
I want
Google
to
birds.
Google birds.
How many Falcons are in a Google? So I guess what we normally say at this point comes naturally. We are.
Joe.
Mike.
I am Cody, and as usual, you fuckers just came naturally.
Yay.